Okay. So we're convening ECDC at 3:09, and everybody is here except Webster Groves. All right. So, first item on the agenda is approval of today's agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The minutes were distributed for the February 18th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the February 18th, 2026 meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Is there any discussion or corrections that need to be had to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Dispatcher recognition, Brad.
Yes, ma'am. So on the 7th of March at 6:43, and as you know, our shift change is at 7. The first alarm house fire occurred in Webster. Since call team entering shift change, Casey Morehouse volunteered to stay just for continuity. Her willingness to assist after her shift ended helped ensure a smooth transition and adequate staffing during a critical incident. Jacob Deedy, still a relatively new dispatcher, handled the TAC channel like a seasoned pro. He kept up with a significant amount of radio traffic and maintained clear after a call about the incident. So.
All right. Commissioner, welcome to take that over to the table. There you go. All right. Mission critical partners.
So I know that Rick presented the CAT assessment on 10 March, but the virtual meeting with MCP was canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. I have reached out to Jamie, to the project manager today, and I sent an email out to everybody on the board to look at the 25th through the 31st of March from 10 to 12 or 1 to 3 year availability. I have received some of those returns, but I'm going to wait so I can have at least 1 or 2 firm days from everybody. I know Scott's not returning till the 23rd. That's why I kind of pushed it down a few days to give him a chance to reply. And then we'll get that meeting, the virtual meeting set, talking about the staffing study and ultimate pricing strategy. And that's where we are.
Any questions, comments? AI clerical solution.
So for, as we mentioned before, we've been working with Prepared AI and Axon Company. I know Scott asked a question when we were in the meeting last month. They do have the ability to sell through a co-op. Omnia is who they use. And so that's, I'm sure most of you have experience with purchasing through a co-op. We've not set up any accounts or moved forward in any way until we get the approval of the acquisition of the software. However, one thing that I have talked with Jennifer about, and I talked to MCP about, so when they offer a service where they will basically work with you, kind of like we did with the CAT assessment, but they'll come in and they'll look at your AI readiness and say, okay, we're going to help you because now this is a saturated market, whether it's Brilliant or Prepared or Blue Century or Versatterm or whoever. It's a saturated market now. And so we want to make sure that we know the correct questions to ask. And of course, every salesman is going to tell you that their product is better than everyone else's because I mean, that's their job. But since we don't have AI and we are not experienced in purchasing AI, this is something that has been suggested that I kind of wanted to put out to the whole board. Do we want to look at spending a little bit of money, nowhere near as much as we have before with MCP, for them to come in and go, we're going to help you with this process?
Do you know how much that would be?
Not yet. I can't shoot out an email because I should know within the next day or so what the pricing looks like. When we initially had the meeting on the 4th of March, they had this, this giant proposal, which is like, we're going to help you do the RFP and we're going to help you do this and we're going to set up demos and all this. I'm like, guys, I don't think we need all that. I think section 1 is section 2, where you come in and look at the environment and you kind of look at our needs first, what these other companies offer. I think that's the extent of what we need, because we're going to buy it on co-op. We sure definitely don't need help with the RFP and things like that. So it would be an off-the-shelf product, but customizable by whoever decides to purchase. Like I say, I asked about that today. I did not get a response back in time for the meeting, but I can send out an email as soon as I do, saying, hey, this is the ballpark. But, at the end of the day, the last thing that we want is, Kurt has plenty of examples of when they were buying the new CAD, and this happens to a lot of PSAPs that purchase a new CAD, you don't know what to ask at the time. And so you end up with, well, we thought this was going to do that, but it doesn't necessarily do that. So we don't want to end up in that situation. So this was just something to kind of throw out there of, could we kind of have MCT hold our hands as the professional consultants through this process? Or do we even need that?
See what the price is.
Okay.
What onboarding support does the vendor itself provide?
According to them, they have local people here in Missouri, as opposed to some other companies that do not have people in Missouri. They come out and they do, and I can send you what they sent us as far as everything that they do from stem to strength. From coming out and looking at your environment, getting you set up, doing the training, doing the installation, all of this. And as of right now, we're only looking at the AI call triage. We're not looking at integrating it into the CAD, so there is no extra pricing on Regis' part. That may be something down the road, but right now we're just looking at the call triage portion. So that's kind of a closed loop system.
Is this not significant enough to do an RFP rather than going to the source of the co-op? That's just a question I have. And also, given the report or the update that MCP gave and the other printed out report, I thought, and I'm gonna have to go back and refresh my mind with that maybe we would hold off on doing that right now. Did I read that, or am I mistaken?
Well,
Are you suggesting we go forward with this
yes,
right now?
Because that was kind of why I did 2 budgets, one with the personnel and one with the software. And I think we decided in the February meeting that the software, which runs 24/7, would probably be the smartest route to go. I did remove the APCO and Telecom, because with those 2 softwares together, there were concerns that can we really do 2 softwares at one time? I think we could spread this out, but one of them 70,000, one of them 90,000. That's a lot of money. So if we could at least do one now, that's what my recommendation is. And I think we kind of decided last meeting that we feel like the AI call triage was the first one.
Now, as in next fiscal year.
As in on this budget.
What's MCP's presentation on AI? I know that was a part of what they looked at.
Yeah,
That was one of their study areas.
we haven't
What
gotten
we,
yet.
we did have that, that's going to be on the virtual.
Yeah.
So what will that entail? in
It
their
just,
presentation?
so it's a little confusing, because a lot of the things that they say, well, you don't have this and you don't have this and you don't have this. I'm like, yeah, guys, but we don't have AI, so we don't have AI policy. We don't have AI training because we don't have any AI. So some of the things that they were saying, well, you don't have these yet, are going to be included in the installation. Whether it's getting it out to the public by doing, a news report, having a reporter come into the PSAP and, hey, this is something that East Central, the first PSAP in Missouri to, initiate this kind of call triage AI, doing the training with the dispatchers, designing the policies and protocols and things like that. All of that will be done on the front. We can't think about doing that now because we don't know the program.
I wasn't sure. Mission critical partners, if their deliverable or the output from all this was going to be, here are sample policies you should consider, or is it just a report saying you don't have a policy?
It's kind of a report saying
what would be helpful is if they say,
wouldn't it? So hold me back to the AI readiness.
Yeah,
So they're like, what are you how many policies you're not ready?
that was kind of the gist of it. And I'm like, yeah, but we don't have any policies because we don't have AI. And so when I explained that to them, they're like, no, we see what you're saying there. And so we'll kind of retool this a little bit. They retold it, they sent it back to me. It kind of looked the same, but that actual presentation is going to be included in this virtual meeting when we
And I
get
think
there.
that when we meet with them, we could say, do you have, or organizations that you can point to that we can download their
I just
information?
hope that they would. Stop this. For the reason for the AI. I mean, we know what the report's gonna say, we don't have AI.
Right.
I know that, we can only just take it outside.
Right.
What should it look like? I think what we should get at.
Thoughts on getting pricing for this service from NCP?
We have no problem with us, so why would we? I mean, they're familiar with our agency, so we don't have to do it, but obviously it makes sense that we are doing this to take a next step in the process, and because we selected them to be the consultant and do that original analysis, they're probably the one that if we did choose a consultant, I don't think we have to do another request for proposals for a consultant to help us get ready for AI if we have them do some AI analysis as part of their work. And if we choose to then hire them to help us get to the finish line with implementing this phone triage AI, I think we need to have a conversation about whether they think we should do an RFP or not, because they may want to put some information in the RFP that helps make the process successful instead of just going up. So, but I think it makes sense for us to ask them for a price of holding our hand through the
Okay.
And maybe a
acquiring and implementation.
Scope of work with that price.
Yeah, I would think.
And then
probably
if,
that.
Prepared AI is on Omnia, can you, from Omnia, get the specs of the software?
We can get the specs of the off-the-shelf product.
Yeah.
And I don't have, again, I don't come from an acquisition background, so I don't know in this particular situation whether an RFP versus a co-op is better. So I was just kind of thinking the co-op route because Scott had brought it up at the last meeting. But if with MCP's help, they could help us with that if we decide to do that.
So some of that help is included in what we've already done with them.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't know that because of our size, that maybe, there's not that many, we don't know this market.
There's not a lot out there. Again, we started looking at this in about August of last year, and we're still set up to be.
I don't know that matters.
Well,
I just
it
want
matters
something
on-
that's good.
It matters on pricing because they tend to kind of say, okay, we're going to give you like a 10 grand discount the first year because you're.
But if we select them and the pricing is good, and then what we end up with doesn't benefit anybody, and we have as many problems as we're currently having, what did we accomplish?
True. And I
Is that
think,
why you want to go for the RFP?
I mean, I'm not really buying into the RFP. I just feel that I read comments about whether we should go forward or not. And I think the conversation I've heard right now, I support it, and we need to have further conversation with mission critical partners and see what they say. That's all I'm saying.
concur.
Anything else about this topic? Okay, so you know what the board's directive is to get pricing from mission critical and scope of work. Intera.
So on 6 March, Greg Brown stated that the Motorola team that they're from Regis have had several productive meetings. The Intera has delivered, well, they've done their non-disclosure agreements, and Intera has delivered the API to Motorola to say, hey, here's what we've done here's what we need from you. And so that was a big step. They've outlined responsibilities and agreed on who will handle what portions of the work. I have told them about our 1 July expectation. And I bother them every Friday. So this would probably be one of the single biggest successes that we could have recently, is if we could marry P1 with Central Square.
Are they giving you any type of idea of how long it would actually take to get the two systems to talk to each other?
So according to Ontario, they partnered with Motorola, but they've never partnered with P1. So the lower CAD system that Motorola sells, the one that used to be Spillman, they bought. They have connected with that one. They have not successfully done P1 anywhere. When you're in a meeting with these engineers and these programmers and things like that, they'll, oh yeah, and they'll talk over your head and do all these things. And then you're like, yeah, but when? And they're like, yeah. So I said, look, the board would like to see something about 1 July. Can we? So at this point, I just keep bothering them every Friday, and I figure the squeaky wheel is either going to get greased or replaced.
Are you seeing them make?
I'm seeing them
progress?
tell me they're making progress, but I haven't actually seen them. So.
Anything else?
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Leave balance.
The lead policy is complete. That policy has been published. It was effective on March. The LTD hours, I went in and spoke with Ann. The LTD hours have been zeroed out, so the lead bank is starting at 0. And that's where we're at.
All right, fire station learning.
So on 16 March, I spoke with our local AT&T rep about the new pricing. He did say it would take about 60 days. I told him, the pricing for FY26, all the fire departments paid pretty much in the middle of last year. So the new pricing, which will probably almost coincide with when we're going into the FY27. So you'll actually see a reduction in the fire department pricing for the AT&T loan.
So under this item, I just want to say that one of our police officers today is his last day, he's retiring, but tomorrow he's going to work for the city on the civilian side. And he does all the in-car technology and all of our security system technology. And so I've asked him when he begins as a civilian employee, he's still going to be doing police technology, but I would like for him to get an understanding of some of the technologies that our fire departments use and help ECDC. So I would like to, if everyone's okay with it, for him to, he would, have to learn about the fire alerting and all of that. But I think it would help if another IT related person who's also public safety could just put eyes on this stuff and maybe help work through if there's issues, because I know that ECDC only has so much money to pay Regis on the just generic IT side. So not that I want him to become, of course, full-time ECDC IT, but I'm happy to have him start to be more involved and help, because it makes all of us better. It makes Richmond Heights better if we're all doing better by understanding our system. So if everybody's okay with that, Shane Place will start to learn some of the technology that he previously may have had some knowledge of, but wasn't part of his police responsibilities. But now that he's on the civilian side, I'm happy to have him help us. Is that all right? That's good, everybody? And he's met with and has always been a great partner of our IT co-op, and they seem very happy to have him coming back to work tomorrow, and just coming without a gun, starting tomorrow. I don't know if he's really carrying a gun, but he won't be carrying a gun anyway. So if that's all right with everybody, he can kind of get up to speed and then have another set of eyes and help the fire department with technology, especially as the technology is ever changing. And with Regis, with the ECDC not having an IT department, I thought that we could at least lend some partial hours to ECDC.
Okay.
So thank you for being
Great.
generous with your employee. What would be the protocol for, like, if my fire department needed help? I would assume it would be reach out to Brad Hurt.
Well, first he needs to learn the systems. So I'm going to have him just start to gain an understanding of the systems, and maybe then in the future we can with that.
Okay, perfect. Do you still have some sort of contract for
Yes,
that?
ma'am. We do Bryce.
part-time
Bryce.
IT?
Mhm.
Are you finding that to be helpful?
Yes, I mean, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's not cheap, but when we don't use him that often, but when we do, he always comes.
He actually helped us. He was on vacation in Florida. Didn't know who called him, and he goes, hold on, and he logged in and
Remoted in. So, yeah.
And for what I'm talking about, this is not CAD related. This is sort of non-CAD related. Like the fire station alerting is not.
networking. So
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the networking. Cameras. That kind
Anything else about fire station learning? All right, police and fire.
I left this in here because Kurt and I thought we remembered where the board landed on this, but we weren't 100% sure. We want to create a subcommittee for this to kind of discuss what the good, the bad, and the ugly is feeling this. Okay.
Yeah, that was the membership committee.
Yes.
It's gonna reconvene, and it's gonna be me and Amber and David agreed to do this.
We didn't do any schedule.
We did not, yes. So if you could.
Yeah.
Put us together. I'm happy to host and all of that.
Okay.
And again, the issue, and as I see it, but from the last time we talked about it was, how do you, as a 911 center, take in calls and not process, and how do people have a seat at the board or not have a seat at the board? Because you're still doing the work regardless of who, you still have to dispatch or transfer the call to an entity if you are the P staff. So that's the issue, is it's not just easy as yes or no.
There are a lot of complexities here. Splitting calls, would definitely be one of them. If you look at Central County, they have about 35 agencies. They only have 5 board members. So the overwhelming majority of their agencies don't necessarily have a voice on the board. Or now they could voice concerns or things like that, but so obviously if we had someone that would come on that was a police agency only, they would have no vote in fire department operations. But that would have to kind of all be codified in the future. Things like that, if we ever even get to that.
something just to keep in mind for everyone. Let's say we do say that Department A can come over police only, fire only. With this Terra piece, we would be able to take the call in Central County to get it in real time. So
Oh, we're not there yet.
that we're not there yet. Once it becomes fruition, it may change the dynamics of how we.
And the AI might also change dynamics too. We don't have that either.
Anything else? You'll get us, you'll reconvene us.
Yes.
Drug and alcohol testing policy.
Okay, I'm sorry to do this, y'all. I'm just gonna tell you in advance. So I would like to go into a closed session after we're finished. I'm just gonna talk generically here why this is actually on the agenda. So when reading through our drug policy, it talks about local, state, and federal laws, because even when it comes to marijuana. State and local no longer, because according to the state, it's legal, according to federal, it's not. There's nothing, so our policy, which has a lot of holes in it and a lot of loopholes and things like that, it does not address air testing. It only addresses urinalysis and or breathalyzer testing. It does not address differences between state and federal laws. It does not address on versus off duty. It addresses on duty lunches and breaks, but it says nothing about home. So I brought it up because what I would like to do, I'm going to, if any of the cities have recently adjusted their drug policy, especially with regards to the new marijuana laws, I would love a copy. Because we're in a position now where we can say, and it says in our policy, just for example, if you come to work and you look impaired and you do a breathalyzer and you blow a 0.04 or higher, you are considered impaired and you will be sent home, most likely terminated. We don't have measurables for marijuana like that. You know, someone can come in and say, you know, whether it's a random test, whether it's reasonable suspicion or whatever, and we say, okay, tomorrow when you get off, you have X amount of hours to get to Concentra and do test X, and we do the authorization and everything else. We don't really have it codified as far as when did you smoke? Was it an hour before duty? Was it on your day off and you had 24 hours to clear it out of your system? With alcohol, there's actually an equation that you can tell through time and sex and body weight and everything else how long it will take to get out of the system. That equation does not exist for marijuana. You can smoke it one time and it can still show up in your urine 30 days later. So that's why I wanted to get with, if any of the cities have rewritten that policy, I would love a copy of it. And at the next board meeting, I would like to bring you kind of what I've suggested. Whether, you know, some of the things are going to be, are we going to be a no tolerance agency? Whereas again, this is my background, whereas a positive test is, you know, you're seeing your way out. Unless you have a valid prescription or something. Or do we want to be a kind of follow the state rules but have some guidelines? There's no easy way to answer this. When I started really going down this rabbit hole, I sat down with HR, I sat down with Chief Goody, I sat down with Richmond Heights, yeah, Captain General. I sat down with all known as Rich, Rick, and everybody was kind of like, Rick looked up Richmond Heights' policy, and Richmond Heights' policy is actually pretty subjective. It gives the chief the ability to kind of say, if I think you're impaired, you're impaired. So it's subjective, but I also think that opens us up more to, if I were to decide you have a good employee versus a bad employee, you know, okay, if it was a random or reasonable suspicion, I get a positive drug test back. At that point, I cannot ignore it. And so I have to be in line with our policy, which right now is just Swiss cheese. So I would like to rewrite it and bring it to you. But if any of you know that any of your cities have recently rewritten this policy, I'll close it to you.
Has anybody adjusted their policy for? I think
As a result of our CBA.
Nothing to change this out, other than the DOTs.
I know we have not done randoms, and I'll discuss in a closed session what led me down this rabbit hole, but, I just want to make sure that we're following the policy.
Anything else? Questions?
No, I just want to say that, like, there's two things you're asking. You're asking what the policy should be, but then obviously a lawyer has to review a draft before one is approved by the board. So,
Yes.
two different things.
The budget.
Since we were here, okay, so we haven't pulled out.
Is anybody online?
Hit escape. It should minimum, or it should take you down where you can, there you go. Now you can see that. Nope. So.
Sorry,
There you
my first day with the new wheels.
go. Okay, so I figured we would start with member city payments. This is kind of where we are, and this is the differences in call volume. 3 cities, Richmond Heights, Webster Groves, and Clayton ran 67% of the calls. The other 3 cities ran the other 33%. So this is strictly based on 2024, 2025 call numbers. The change over there is on the right, the percent change, the 2025, 2026 cost versus what your annual cost is going to be for FY27.
Which is
Only 1 city decreased, and that's Brentwood. Everyone else went up. And that's just the call volume thing. What I have done is, if you look on the FY27 budget, as I mentioned earlier, I removed the $90,000 for Telecom. Yeah, I adjusted the pricing for the AT&T Fire Station alerting lines from $34,408 to $32,040. So we're saving a couple $1,000 on the AT&T line. And the audit price, which I had budgeted $78, they actually are now, they jumped about $800 up to $8,600. So all in all, with the above changes, the proposed FY26.
We did the RFP this year and included you guys in the RFP, correct?
For,
Audit. We did a new RFP this year. And I'm guessing that we just added the ancillary unit, ECDC in that audit.
okay.
Just so
Yeah.
everyone knows, it was bid out.
Okay. So with the above changes, the proposed FY27 fiscal budget shows a 6.84% increase from the previous budget. The 2 open dispatcher positions and all associated costs with those positions are still frozen. The increase is from 3 primary sources, which are annual raises, which we had last year. Projected $70,000 for the AI software, which we did not have last year. We had the $50,000 for MCP, and I removed the $100,000 from ECDC's fund balance that was used for the last few years. I've recently been working with finance. We have one of those sweep accounts now because I think we were losing a lot of money on interest. And since I got here, I kind of thought that we had 2 accounts, a checking account and a fund balance account. We don't. We have 1. And so it's incredibly difficult to look at it and go, okay, I have this much coming in, but I have this much going out, so this is what's left over. Very, very complex. Kathy had the formula she sent to me. I'm kind of scared of it, but we do have this sweep account now to try to gain some interest, and I'm having our debit cards or credit cards, I should say, put on rewards cashback. Any money that we can recover or not spend is to our benefit. So I would kind of like to go through, if you'll go up. So the first section is income. Kurt, can you kind of scroll across the bottom there and bring FY 27 into view. It's the one right below. No, I'm sorry, that's the size. Yeah. Okay, so now kind of scooch to your left just a little bit so we can see the percentage change. Okay, that's good. So the income line, that is the partnership payment from the city. Below that, where it says billable expense income, that's the fire department's FSA lines, which are all pretty much close to the same price now, except Webster that has two departments. We go down to personnel and benefits. This is, this comes from the personnel cost tab. I don't put this in, it's these sheets talk to each other, but this is about 85% of our expenses. Pay, insurance, medical, dental. Talking to Christine, dental and vision are not going to increase. Medical will, but we have not received the actual information. Assume probably 7 to 10%. So scroll on down. So
Is that
this
a good
is,
assumption?
ma'am,
I think that sounds high to me.
You know what, let me check that real quick.
We haven't had our board meeting yet.
I serve, I don't know if I
Yeah.
should be sharing it. I serve on the slate, right? So I probably should. Okay, we'll get that information to you.
So you've assumed 6%.
on medical,
Right.
that was what
That's what's in the budget, according to what I was looking at earlier today.
medical insurance. Actually, I just left it the same as last year.
What was that last year?
Last year it was a 6% increase.
It was the actual in FY 25 was 224. I had budgeted in FY 26 240,
Oh,
but we have not paid everything out yet. So we're not.
Right, but it's 6%, like,
Right, I have
based on
not,
the other part of this spreadsheet, it's 6%. And so I guess my question,
I don't think it's gonna go up 6 again.
It's either 4% or 6%.
Oh, it is going up 6% again?
It's 2, 4, 6.
okay, so
We've been doing
budgeting,
good. Okay, that's coordinated.
so budgeting at an assumption of 6% would be fine and worst case scenario
right. Okay.
until we get our numbers. When is the slate board meeting?
Next one. And I also do not have, and we'll get to in a minute, I do not have Regis' update. Do not
April
have-
2nd. Having it flat is not good.
Yeah, like we probably should put something.
The what, ma'am?
Having it 0 increase is probably not realistic.
It's not realistic.
Oh, no, definitely.
Except for the last 2 years, we have not even hit our budgeted amount. Like in fiscal 24, we budgeted 265 and we're at 251. And last year we were at 276 and we hit 224.
It's all gonna correlate with headcount.
Right.
And if people make changes to their benefits.
Next week we will be fully staffed.
Right, but that 240 is full stop, like what you're authorized to be at for this current year.
If it's 6%, it's 14,403.54 increase from what we budgeted last year.
What concerns me most about personnel and benefits isn't really the insurance. What concerns me right now is the holiday. Because we have already blown way through what we had budgeted. Can you go to that line for, that's line 34?
Do you know why that is?
Sure.
More people have chosen to get paid out for the holiday than use it as an additional day off.
And the 35,817 that I have there for the proposed FY27, which is still low according to where we are at the middle of March here, is a 3-year average.
Somebody likes to have that day off. Do you have to backfill that seat and pay overtime? No.
We treat it like a vacation day. Only one person can be on vacation per shift.
I see you manage that.
Correct.
But we're a lot better on overtime than we were at this point last year. Just worse on holiday.
Yeah. If you think that trend's going to continue, then I would increase that holiday number.
I think it will.
Okay.
I mean, if you look in FY25, we actually went all the way up to 48. In FY26, we're at 40, and we still have April, May, and June to go. So we could, I mean, that trend is showing that it's there. And
How many more holidays? April, May, June, just Memorial Day?
by October, we paid out everything, so we still have quite a few more to go.
So,
Oh, you mean for
This was
FY26?
Yeah.
What's the last holiday left for FY26?
May,
Memorial Day? Okay.
So we have one left.
Juneteenth. So 2 more until the end of the fiscal year. Any questions on personnel benefits other than we know the holiday, that it looks like the holidays are trending up. Medical insurance needs to be adjusted. I'll do a 6% increase as a worst case scenario. We'll just leave it at that. So Kurt, don't let me forget that. If you even want to put a note out to the side.
So I would agree with that. But then if ECDC's actual increase is less than that, what I would hope we would do is like recalculate our member costs so that we're not all paying extra.
I would love to, here's my only concern about that, or my only difficulty of doing that is I won't know what the final number is until I've done everything after June the 30th. And I've said, okay, here, let me pull my reports and go in and reconcile the budget versus the actuals. But that's long after we've already signed the invoice.
Or we'll have the medical number before we vote on it. So
Right.
we just plug in the correct number.
Right.
We'll know. We won't have, like right now, if we have 3 open positions, we figure one a family, one an employee.
It's 4%.
We'll have everybody.
But we
It's
will
We'll know in
actually,
3 weeks, but
Yeah.
we don't know.
we will actually have 22 full positions, and the last 2 are frozen, so we're not counting medical insurance in it.
Right. So Bola is
She's
got her crystal ball.
Let's use
Says
4% as a
this- I
placeholder.
think 4% would be a good place.
It's a good, yeah.
Okay, and change it. Okay, 4%. All right, perfect.
Then I would have at least 40 at holiday.
And yeah, increase to 40 on holiday.
but you're gonna ruin your formula because it ties back to your personnel costs
Yeah, you just plug it in there, you go.
So you're gonna
I would
break
just
your,
make notes of
you're
it.
gonna break
Yeah.
your point. Yeah.
Yeah, don't change anything.
I just write it down. Especially. if
No, wrong line.
Your main.
Line
spreadsheet.
below. That's overtime.
There.
Any other questions on personnel benefits? Okay, I do not have Regis's new numbers, so I have used the old numbers.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
On personnel benefits. Is there anything in the staffing that we're going to discuss with MCP in the next couple of weeks here where they're going to recommend that we immediately need to unfreeze those positions or add another position?
I have talked to them based on what we went through in the last meeting, where it was kind of personnel versus technology, and that we have chosen the technology route. So even when we have the staffing study, it's like, yes, 36 or 38 would be wonderful, but hey, we have no place to put them. And they understand that, I mean, we've talked to them enough, they understand it's kind of a pipe dream. So they're not going to say, I mean, they may say, hey, it would be great if you had 38. But we understand what your limitations are right now. You have 22 dispatchers, 2 management, and you're going to technology route. So it's not going to be something MCP is going to say, you should do this.
Based on their study or based on what they think is feasible in this?
Based on what they think is feasible.
Because I do want their report to say, at least personally, this is what you need for this to function properly. And then we'll figure out how we implement that over time and that sort of thing. But if we really need to unfreeze those 2 positions, or we really need to add somebody that's a CAD specialist, or they're saying this is critical to your operations, I would prefer that they make that recommendation and that we figure out how to fund it. I wouldn't want them to say and downplay it because they're worried about what our reaction will be and say, maybe we should add that. But I just want to make sure their report is what we truly need. And then everybody's, I don't know if everybody's in agreement, but I mean, if we need to add 3 people, then tell us we need to add 3 people.
Completely understand. I will tell you, in my opinion, we do not need 6 people on night shift. Night shift does just fine with 5. Day shift has 6. I think if we went the personnel route and put 6 people on night shift, it would actually be a misuse of manpower. That's why we kind of diverted down the technology route that gives us 24/7 coverage for everybody. But the one thing that I absolutely agree with is a CAD/IT/ticket type person where it's a third person between Kurt and I would be amazing. And they did recommend that. I would not say critical because we have been doing more with less, but they have recommended it, and that does show in their staffing study.
We just wanted to know if there are any critical adds, and if there are, and we need to do that in 27, then now's the time to start thinking.
And
what that does to personnel.
Yes, sir. And this is also something that I've been thinking about from, I know Bo and I have discussed it before, a capital plan of, let's look at in telecom for the next, for the next fiscal year. After that, let's look at this third person. After that, let's look at blah, 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 blah. So I would kind of like to put together and bring at least a 5-year plan to the board and say, this is where my mind is going. Does this make sense to everybody? But I completely understand that we can't do it all at once. There's just constraints. Okay, so go back up a little bit. Keep going. We've only gone through step 1. I don't know why you're not seeing my notes that are over on the side. Anyway, so this is a telephone and communications.
Oh, they're in column L.
Oh, they are? We're just not seeing them? Okay.
Yeah. They're over.
Your comments, 3,000.
Oh, that thing with the 2 black arrows, bring that over.
That'll take all day.
Oh, they're still not there. How did that? Go over to the smaller and just see if we can see what's going on.
No, because you're on.
It's just
CD.
Oh, okay, there we go. Of course, now we can read it. And something very bad happened. Okay.
No, not that one.
It was other way.
Other way. I want to see that there were, okay, not that small.
Use the little, yeah, right on the plus. There you go.
A little more. One. Just touch the plus out. Directly out there. Okay. Can everybody read that? Everybody good? Okay.
Up here it matters.
Why? Okay, it's duplicates. But okay. I just wanted to see my notes. I'm not sure why it's starting over with F again there at the double line. Okay, okay, good. Stop. Okay. So personnel and benefits, then if we go down to part 2, telephone and communications maintenance, this is the Regis stuff. We have not gotten their full numbers. And the reason I put these notes over here on the 6 Regis lines is when you pull a report, it doesn't say antivirus or VPN and remote tokens. It just gives you all these weird. So what I've done is I've kind of aligned it to the way that it makes sense with what's on our sheet. So the big price CAD is the first one there. Then 6,060 to mules. Like if you see mules access down here in the first couple of years, it was $720. Mules is over 8,000 a year. So I'm not sure. So I'm kind of having to just play with the numbers and put stuff where it makes the most sense. So once I get I have increased, if you look there in the change column, I have increased some of those cab prices and some of the other network stuff based on where we currently are and what I anticipate will be the new changes. I mean, Regis is always going to increase every year. So, and then if you see there in line 49, that's the FSA circuits that have been reduced due to the new AT&T pricing. Okay, Kurt, scroll down a little. Now here on line 69, other professional services, this was what we have spent on mission critical. I put that down to 0 because I don't have a number for if we're going to have to do an AI light type consultant where we're just looking. So there were 4 sections on their original assessment, or not their assessment, but their scope of work for helping us find it. Number 3 and 4 that talked about the RFP and things like that. At the time when they presented that on the 4th of March, and I think that may be a little much. Let's retool this, make it cheaper. But I will send the board both prices as kind of like an AI light assessment versus their full on consultancy for everything. So that line 69 is definitely going to change if we decide to use it. If you go down to the Richmond Heights, 75, 76, and 77, I got Financial Portal and Time Clock Plus. I got those increased prices from Gina yesterday. And the Kathy told me on the Richmond Heights HR and bookkeeping services, she said she did not have exact pricing yet, but to increase 5%. So that's what I did. Everything else is very close to where it was last year. Actually, everything is 0% change except for the audit. And what you said now, that kind of explains the increase there. Down to insurance and legal. No real surprises here. Of course, the general liability with slate is our biggest expense, and then we get the slate reimbursement. But all of those prices that you see in the year to date in column G, I just verified those last week. So.
Do you have in the budget, and I don't expect you to be able to answer this question, you know, every year it seems like there's some sort of surplus distribution from slate. Do you have a number in here?
Yes, ma'am.
For
Good.
that?
Kurt, if you will go to member city costs, the tab down there at the bottom. And if you look up in the upper left-hand corner, keep scrolling. Right there on line 3. So this year it's for the FY26 is 14,790.
14,790
Yes, ma'am.
is what you're expecting.
That's what it is for fiscal year 26. I haven't gotten any new numbers, so I've left that one the
That's
same.
probably half of that.
The year prior was 9,000. So
It's lower than that.
okay.
So are you using last year's number
Right.
to reduce this year's cost for us? As,
And is that fire departments?
Yes, sir.
The fire station, is that the alerting?
With the alerting,
Is that the, is some kind, is that the interface or alerting or something like that?
fire station alerting in line 4.
That fire department.
That's what they pay.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those weird things where it shows as an expense
So these are
and an income. So we're just kind of tapping. Okay, back to budget versus actuals. Okay, keep scrolling down. We've already done section 2, section 3, section 4. Training and education. So Bert and I both went to Summit last year and no one went to APCO. Summit is strictly Motorola. APCO is everybody, different vendors. So what we've decided this year is Kurt is going to go to Summit and I will go to APCO later in the year. I think it's August. Kalia for FY27, we've completed our 3rd year of accreditation. So now we have to go, and we're expecting to have to pay for Tom. Apparently that's a Kalia deal.
what do you mean?
Kurt?
He's our Kalia manager. That's part of his bill. And when we go for the
Yeah.
re-accreditation, we pay for him. He does several different agencies. So let's just say it costs $5,000. If he gets 5 agencies that all get re-accredited at the same time, we only pay $1K. So, but we don't know that number at the agencies yet.
And I don't have to go through the entire thing, but I have to go through the bank with presentation, whatever, and I can, so I fly in, presentation, fly out.
Do we have his expense built in?
We do.
For fiscal,
Yes, sir.
under professional services, I guess.
Yes, under line 101 would be the hotel and under line 120 is conference fee and travel.
Do we have to pay him to do any of the work or just?
No, so we're just paying for his, the conference fee is travel. to the hotel.
But I didn't know if he.
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
for the
the $4,000 or $5,000 a week, yes, sir, that's built in a different area.
Under professional.
That's how much we pay him to actually come in.
I just wanted to make sure that his regular rate was captured.
Yes.
So they got to enforce and cap.
Kurt, scroll down. Okay, if you look in,
One of those.
no. Okay, there you go. So APCO EMD certification, we have two new hires, which will be our most recent hire, plus a hire that we've had in the books for a few months, to get the MD trained. And then you see a little bit of an increase there for EMD research. I believe Kurt was saying that the overwhelming majority of our dispatchers will need research in that way. St. Louis Academy increased, actually that price stayed the same. Power DMS went up 5%. Training materials, were we counting on like having to buy the books, Kurt?
We have to buy a book.
Okay. That's for the EMD.
Can we go back to training and travel? It's like lines 112 and 113, that APCO supervisor stuff. And the 114, like,
That's the 114 is the APCO illumination training that we've purchased. We have not paid that this year.
so is that bill gonna come later this year?
It will.
Okay. And then what about the APCO supervisor and the communications training officer?
The only reason, so it's $425 per course, and so that's 2 people each course. I just put those in there. I don't anticipate it, but one of the supervisors could be like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm going to retire, and then I have to get another supervisor or CTO trained. We've had a few of the CTOs come and say, no, this isn't worth it to me. I'm going to hand in my CTO. So there's a possibility that 950 for each line does not get used.
Okay. So I'm just going to say this personal frustration is particularly in this training and travel, like the APCO conference up there, the first 2 of those lines is like $3,000, which I understand is a small amount, but what frustrates me is when I see things that we have budgeted, that we as member cities pay for, and then we don't use, and certain things I understand, right? Like, emergency housing, right? Like I understand that because you can't control this, but some of these training and travels, like we can control. So that is just a personal kind of frustration about some of these things. I'm not suggesting any changes. I'm just venting a personal frustration that I see that we put things in the budget that we pay for that then we're not actually doing. And they are things in our control.
Which I'm trying to limit that as much as I can. And I'm only putting the money in that I think without shorting us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And like if you look there, like the line 126, ILETA, line 124, the IAED, and other conferences, Missouri Public Safety and MENA conference, I'm only allowing us to go to one each. So I appreciate that. Memberships. The APCO is of course our most important. APCO and CLIA are 2 most important memberships. I would like to get some of these other ones signed up for, like the Missouri 911 Directors Association, and specifically an IACP, which is a pretty cool organization. I've been to their conference before, but I tried to keep those numbers as low as humanly possible and not increase any. Building lease and the copier recycle bin are pretty much the same prices as FY26. No change there. Supplies and equipment, if you note all the zeros on the change column, I've tried not to increase anything We actually decreased on 153 because last year we needed to buy, or this year, this current fiscal year, we needed to buy a computer, we needed a new server, and we needed one other thing. So that 11,000, that's a 72% decrease there. And I have not, we don't need chairs or anything else this year since we